In this video, you are going to find a comprehensive guide on the types of residency visas in Mexico. Watch till the end because I'm going to share 5 important things to consider when applying for temporary or permanent residency. Let's get into it. The first thing you need to understand is that there is a common confusion related to the terms FM1, FM2, and FM3, which nomenclature is for migratory form, with the aim of facilitating understanding for foreigners. Since 2012, the immigration status has been modified. Nowadays, there are 3 visa status. 1. Visitor. 2. Temporary resident. 3. Permanent resident. Easy, right? And the residency card is called FMM. Let me explain each one. Visitor. Visitor status allows entry into Mexico for up to 180 calendar days or 6 months. Here we find tourists, business people, and passing traffic. 3 things to consider. 1. There is no restriction on the number of times you can enter Mexico. 2. Buying property in Mexico is possible with this status. 3. If you drive into the country, get your immigration stamps at INM offices. Many countries are welcome tourists without a visa, including the US, Canada, and most European countries. If you want to verify if your nationality requires a visa, in the description below I leave you a link to the official list of countries that do and do not require a visa. In case you require it, you can apply for a tourist visa at a Mexican embassy or consulate in your home country. Now let's jump to temporary and permanent residency. The cost of getting residency is very affordable in Mexico, and you can also become a Mexican citizen after meeting the requirements. Temporary resident visa. A temporary resident visa allows you to stay in Mexico for up to 4 years. Pro tip: for those driving from either Canada or the US, you can bring your foreign-plated car as a temporary resident for the period of your residency card with the corresponding authorization. 4 types of temporary resident visas. Number 1. Demonstrate economic solvency. This is the assumption where the vast majority can qualify. Here we find the retirees, students, and those who have a work permit either by a company or as a freelancer or digital nomad. Economic solvency means that you can show proof that you make a certain level of income or savings to support yourself financially in Mexico. Number 2. Own real estate in Mexico. Number 3. As an investor in the country. Number 4. By family ties, each with its own financial requirements. If you want to learn in depth about the financial requirements of these assumptions, in the description below of this video, you will find links to videos that I made for each of them. Permanent residency visa. Permanent residency is the right to live and work in Mexico indefinitely. After 4 consecutive years as a temporary resident, you can then apply to become a permanent resident. If you are married with a Mexican, this time can be shorter. Now, you may want to apply for a permanent residency from the very beginning. There are only 2 assumptions that allow to get permanent residency directly. 1. Retirees with a certain level of pension, investments, or savings. I suggest checking the video I made with the financial requirements. The link is in the description below. 2. By family ties. This means to be married to a Mexican citizen or having a son, parent, or grandparent born in Mexico. I suggest checking the video I made on this topic. If you are not in the previous cases, you must first apply for temporary residency. If you are an investor or own real estate in Mexico, you cannot jump directly to permanent residency. Pro tip: temporary and permanent residents can bring their family members to live with them in the same immigration status and for the same duration. How to apply for residency? For temporary residency, you will need to apply at a Mexican consulate in your home country. Mexican consulates requirements may differ. To verify requirements and fees, I leave you a link in the description to all Mexican consulates around the globe, where you can access the website of the consulate nearest you. Notice that some websites and forms are in Spanish. Also, some procedures can confuse you. Therefore, I highly recommend that you rely on an immigration lawyer to carry out your process. For permanent residency, you can apply directly in Mexico. Which Mexican visa is right for you will depend on your individual circumstances. Remember that in the description below, you will find links to videos where you can learn more of every assumption that I mentioned in this video. To end, 5 things to consider when applying for a Mexican residency. 1. Start the application process early. It can take several months to process your application. It is important to start the process well in advance of your travel date. 2. Be sure to have all of the required documentation. The required documentation varies, depending on the type of visa you are applying for. 3. Be prepared to pay a visa application fee. The visa application fee varies, depending on the type of visa you're applying for. Be sure to check with the Mexican consulate what the fee is. 4. Presenting the required visa documentation does not guarantee that a visa will be issued. The documentation is still subject to review and approval by the visa issuing department. Therefore, I highly recommend that you rely on an immigration lawyer, since they have all the experience to do it. By doing it on your own, you run the risk of making mistakes. And once you submit your process and is rejected, you will have to start it again and pay again. The government does not make refunds in case your process is rejected, and they don't have an appeals process. 5. After obtaining your residency, it will be mandatory to obtain a RFC, which is a tax code number. Don't worry, I have a video where I explain everything you need to know about the RFC. If you have already gone through one of these processes, share with others your experience by leaving a comment. I hope you find this video helpful. If you want to learn local knowledge to invest in real estate in the Mexican Caribbean, I suggest to subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching.